Now, this weekend's off. We've talked about technology, but mostly about pizza. And we talk about things that are happening in the industry. We usually have a guest. And the previous couple episodes, we've done a lot of things where we've used some AI coding stuff. Maybe because of my laziness, I'm encouraging us to go back to a more talky mode, or maybe even a little bit of limited video just to splice in, so I'm not like trying to build a movie each week. Although Russ, I think, is laughing at me because he's like, all that you have to do is easy. Why are you struggling? But we get into it. We normally ask people their biggest mistake. I think we can skip that one. We've probably both gone through biggest mistake. We could ask a random person to come in and tell us their biggest mistake, which could be kind of fun.
Could be fun.
Yeah.
If we ever do this like out on the street, that's what we need to do.
This might be a good podcast for street.
Come tell us about your technology experience.
Yeah. But where I did want to go on this one.
Wait,
well, first we
the
got to do
intro?
pizza. What?
Was that the intro?
Yeah.
Rate it?
That was a thumbs up. I didn't die.
I give it like a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
You missed some important details.
Yeah, I did. I missed a lot of details. But I think we still need to eat the pizza, right?
Yep.
Do a little quick rating of pizza.
Yep. So this week, the za is the Supreme from Casey's, keeping with the theme of season 3 and eating Casey's. I did have one bite already. That one bite was mushroomy and olive-y, but not too bad. Yeah, I think of all the Supremes I've ever had, this one probably is going to be a contender for a good Supreme. Maybe it's just because it's in the Casey's box, but...
Supreme for me always is kind of at that level of pizza. I always like it. Almost any pizza brand, it would never be my favorite. I don't know if you kind of have the same. Well, it's often not your favorite.
Yeah, I just dodge it usually.
Like if it's out and there's like somebody had ordered 4 different pizzas, I'd probably take one piece of Supreme. Just because I do kind of like you never know which weirdness you're going to get.
Right.
And it could be kind of good. This one actually feels really good for a Supreme. Maybe one of the best Supremes I've ever had.
Okay.
I don't know why. It has a good flavor. I think Casey's does a good job with everything in general. So, I'd give this one. I'm gonna go a 7. I can't go like into that 8 range, like truly elite pizza. This is most certainly not. Which I think personally, if there's one thing I've learned through this podcast, is I think my ideal pizza is maybe pepperoni, cream cheese, and jalapeno.
Yeah. I'm glad I could enlighten you.
That is,
And you like taco pizza.
and I like taco pizza, which is, to be quite honest with you, I knew I could eat it, but there's actually some really good taco pizza out there, which is a little shocking.
Fantastic.
This is a 7. I really like it. If this was laying around amongst a lot of pizzas, I'm eating this.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to pull up the ratings because new computer, but I want to say it's probably one of the better pizzas I've had on the podcast with mushrooms on it. It's not really black olive-y. Are they in there?
I didn't see any black olives. I haven't eaten
Okay,
one.
so maybe they've just got mushrooms on there, which is helping with the situation. But if the mushrooms are with a bunch of other stuff, generally speaking, I'm more willing to like them. But it's still mushroomy a bit, but I think the onions and peppers and the pepperoni are really pulling through. So I think I'm going to give it like a 6.5.
Okay, wow, that's a pretty high score.
Yeah.
Would that be your best Supreme?
I don't know. I feel like we had a Supreme. Did we get a Supreme from...
The garbage can?
I mean, the garbage can had a lot on it. That was a lot.
That was good.
But did we just have a straight Supreme from Ramos?
I don't think so. I think it was the garbage... The
Did they have a
kitchen
Supreme?
sink. It was called the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
It was theirs. I thought that was a really good pizza. This, I think, is maybe better than my memory of that.
Okay. I mean, this has the benefit of I haven't really had a lot of bad Casey's pizza.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I don't know why it's so good. It's no like Ramos crust, it's no Ramos sauce, but they're just so solid.
Yeah. I was driving by a Casey's the other day with someone. We were just driving along, and I actually called out, "Oh yeah, that's the pizza. The pizza, the great pizza place." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I don't even think I had hardly had any Casey's pizza. To them, Casey's was a gas station.
Yeah.
Which I guess you can get gas there. I almost never do. But
What's
their
gas?
pizza is flat out of it. Yeah. You're a lot of people are fully electric. I am not.
I actually just watched an article about Casey's that their stock has outperformed the S&P 500 in the last 10 years by a wide margin, and they sell more pizza than gas, which I think I've talked about on the podcast before.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had a big turnaround, and they've actually redone all their food. So maybe season 4 we expand and also get some chicken sandwiches or something like that too, because I've heard those are fantastic.
I would like to try
They
them.
redid them from the ground up when their pizza started taking off. So their CEO, I think, or somebody in charge of the food, said everything about our pizza sells like garbage. So they literally went back to scratch on all the other things and redid every recipe to make it at the same tier as the pizza.
I haven't tried it. I've never found, and this is for our Casey's CEO watchers out there, because we know they probably have to be. I don't find any of their sides, like their breadsticks or their cheese bread.
We had a side last episode.
Was it good?
Yeah, you loved it.
Okay, maybe I do love them then.
It had jalapenos.
Oh,
and
you had
sweet
more
chili
stuff. I
sauce.
bet. I think they're just their standard breadsticks or whatnot I've had before.
Yeah,
haven't
it was
been
a
great.
just like a breadstick.
Just a breadstick.
Yeah,
because
it won't stand up to the Ramos.
yeah,
Because that's just their crust. And it's good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
even Papa John's, which I feel has a better just straight breadstick than some places.
Yeah. Domino's has a good one too since they redid their crust recipe.
Yeah. You'd think this would be better, but you're right there. They have good stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
They should sell gas too. Maybe that'd be our recommendation for them. They should get into other things. This
Maybe
pizza's
chips or sodas or
yeah,
something.
chips or
like
soda.
that. Yeah.
Try to do
Really make it
something
count.
else. Maybe they could branch out. Right
Yeah.
now, they seem to have this pizza thing nailed.
You know they have a pizza and beer expert. That's one of their positions. There's one guy who's in charge of making pairings for beer with their pizzas.
No,
Dead serious. When he got hired, he's like, "This was my dream job."
that is everybody's dream job.
If we get him on the podcast, that'd be
Yes,
incredible.
I want that guy. He's in Nebraska. We'll have to figure that
I
out.
think he's in Iowa.
Is he really?
I mean, Casey's comes from Iowa.
Oh, now I.
No.
All these nice things I've said about Casey's.
That article also talked about how they're trying to expand down into Texas to take on Buc-ee's. They're
Okay.
expanding really fast down there, so
Wow, I'm learning a lot.
yeah, Casey's.
Yeah.
Speaking of learning a lot,
Speaking of learning, you did kind of an internal talk about some stuff yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really clever and extremely valuable from the generating of specs, acceptance criteria.
Yep.
Potentially just using a lot of things we already have lying around, which
Yep.
I thought was really extremely valuable. So
Yeah.
maybe you could walk us through that.
Sure.
It's an
So-
interesting use. I also will call out, everybody's very focused on AI from a few elements. You had kind of a new element I haven't heard as many people actually talk about using it for.
Yeah. So anyone who knows me knows that I suffer from imposter syndrome. So in my mind, there's no way that I'm going to make any advances in the technology usage of AI or finding that new MCP thing, or I'm going to piggyback on those smarter people around here to help those things with my productivity. But I wanted to step back and say, well, what can I use these AI things for then that are outside of the technology realm? And as long as I've been seeing our pipeline from the first chats we have with clients to seeing the devs go fingers on keyboards to dev complete, I've always thought that we lacked a structure for handoff materials. So my initial thought was, well, how can I use these AI tools to help me kind of build better handoff documentation to the developers? And initially I thought that was a good approach because I saw a lot of developers just going in and slinging with these agents.
Mm-hmm.
And the agents don't really have a concept of why we're building it or what's going on or where the code should live in the solution. So I was like, this has to be a thing we can build instructions for these things better. Nobody was focused on that yet, or at least none that I'd heard of. So I said, that's probably something I can give a shot because I can't spell MCP, but I do a lot of documentation, so why not? So yeah, I started diving into it from there. The initial attempts were all things like, I'm going to use an agent to build instructions for another agent. We're going to build instructions on how to collect better documentation through those early meetings with clients to figure out what they actually want to build. And through that process, we generated lots of input templates and meeting note templates and UI templates and all these things that I didn't really think anybody would want to fill out because they're hundreds of lines long of making bullet points and filling out requirements and identifying dependencies in the requirements. And I'm like, nobody's going to do that. So that is too heavy. If I put that in front of somebody, they just go, nah, I'll just keep winging it the way we're doing it now. So I took those instruction sets, then went to another, I think I just newed up another chat and cursor and said, hey, we need to refine this. I need to make this something easier that no one's going to complain about. So through a bunch of prompting, we worked out a smaller template set where the longest one I think is around 100 lines, and mostly it's 5 or 6 important questions to fill in bullet points. And it's lots of examples in the bullet points. So, and we can probably post these somewhere. I mean, you can probably just copy paste it. It's all marked down. You can put it in comments below the video, but using those templates, I found that it was much easier to just take my thoughts from meetings after the fact, throw them into those templates, and then feed it into this pipeline. And the pipeline idea is that you feed in these templates that should answer the big questions, and then your agent can build for you a reviewable document of acceptance criteria. That was the first successful pass I had on this thing. And that was good, except I thought it was still missing a lot of key areas that I didn't capture well enough, because it's still a lot of human input. So then I said, well, what if we can just capture everything? And that's when I went back to these meetings and I copied in all the transcripts. I copied in everyone else's notes. I went to Figma and did, Control A, Control C, Control V into a markdown file, and just everything that was text in that Figma doc, put it in here, let it digest. Through every screenshot, every time the client shared an image with us of like a whiteboard drawing that they did in their office, put it in there too. And then I refined the process to say, hey, you need to consider all this stuff and make documentation around why these decisions are being made, and then build the acceptance criteria. And that's where I landed with this more successful process.
Now, this obviously takes a decent amount of time to kind of pull all this together, right? Does that take a lot of time, or is that pretty easy to either just kind of automate, or all those control Command A, Command V is pretty straightforward?
Honestly, in the time it would have taken me to write all those acceptance criteria from scratch, I think I used less time to just go find those things and drop them in the artifact folder.
Okay.
Yep, as long as you've got a directory set up to drop stuff, I think you'll be fine. Honestly, I think it'll be more successful when I get more people on board on those discovery teams, so that if everyone just goes and drops their notes from the beginning.
Especially earlier, from the beginning, that kind of, you can almost do it immediately after a meeting.
Yeah, or if we want to put it on OneNote, I'm sure OneNote has MCP, but you could just have the agent go scrape the OneNote, summarize it, and drop it in the artifact folder for you.
Actually, it probably does have MCP. I have not looked.
I glanced once and I decided it wasn't worth my time. I could just copy paste it
for now. First experiment. Yeah.
Yeah. If you were all working inside the same notebook or the same section of a notebook,
probably could pull it off.
I think so too.
Yeah, actually, I didn't think about that. I bet it's doable.
Yeah, because there's a Figma MCP that's been pretty good about pulling stuff.
Yeah.
And that's been helpful for getting better about copying stuff down, because you can't always Control A because there's diagrams and workflows and stuff.
And once you get all this in there, how long does it take for it to actually generate kind of that first pass of stuff? Does it take seconds, minutes?
Yeah, less than a minute.
Less than a minute.
Yeah, it's really good about
enough time to just go get coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the real part of it starts, because from the get-go, I always told it, and in all the diagrams that we made for like this pipeline, there's always a huge human review step, because I don't think we should ever just take this acceptance criteria and throw it over the fence. So I have it make acceptance criteria, and then I have it generate a bunch of unknowns, and then we work together to go through those unknowns. So it'll be like, here's 10 unknowns, and then I'll just reply to all 10 at the same time, ask me more questions. We do that for a half hour or so, and then we're well past 80% at that point. So that first pass, I think, does get 80%, which that's always my rule of thumb for any AI things right now, is if it can get you 80%, that's 80% you didn't have to do. So just go for it. But once I'm pretty happy with it, I actually have it make me a Word version. Or it's a markdown file, but it's more friendly for copying into Word. I don't know if it can make me a Word file yet, but... and then I take that, throw it into Word, invite the rest of the team, and then I work on formatting while they do the review. We do a little bit of dropping comments, refining, talking through them, and then once we're happy, that just gets copy pasted onto the SOW.
Now, I don't know if you've had a ton of experimenting with this yet. Are you able to use those same assets then while doing the software development?
That's the next question.
Because you have all these acceptance criteria, which would be extremely valuable, I think, if you're trying to prompt the UI.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're never going to get to, or at least I don't believe you're going to get to 100. Yeah. But if you can get it to generating 90% of the code, and then you're just cleaning it up from that, the savings could be massive.
Yeah. So everything that I've talked about so far is on the what I'm calling the discovery side of the pipeline. There's also a development side of the pipeline. So far, I've proven that it can take our acceptance criteria plus all the artifacts, and then work through a process that I've described for it. So there's instructions to start building out our interfaces.
Okay, so it can do.
And that's not 80% yet, but I think it's getting better.
Okay.
So it helps define like, hey, I know that you guys use a handler system.
Yeah.
I know that you use polymorphism.
Yeah.
You talk about a call chain that does this with this kind of data. It probably looks like that, right? And then I could say, yep, next one. And there's a whole process for, you could also do a discovery process without that input, where it just walks you through, hey, what kind of service, what layer is it in, what are the entities, what handlers, and then walk you through generating all your documentation for your interface projects. Which that part's been very successful. But I think there's still a missing piece, and this is unknown asterisk part of the presentation I gave, where I don't know how successful we're going to be with generating that handoff markdown for, junior developers bot to pick up and help him write that stuff. Ideally, and this is like my perfect utopia of development land, if we are in this world where we have junior developers acting like a supervisor for an AI agent writing code, and they're doing all their code as prompting, when they tell the agent to do something that is outside of spec, the agent should be able to push back on that and tell them why with examples from the meetings. That's my utopia.
That would be huge.
Yeah.
And I say that just because all of us have a natural tendency to go further than what's been spec'd.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And often that is a source of either rework, taking it out, or extra feature we have to now maintain.
Yep.
Either one is potentially bad in its own way, and eliminating that before it starts. And the challenge I see is AI tends to want to always be your best friend and help you.
Yeah. Great idea, Chad.
Great idea, Chad. Your code looks wonderful.
You're totally right. I'll make that change.
Yeah, you're totally right. I'll make that change. I think it always says that. It doesn't want, to be the grumpy. It doesn't necessarily need to be grumpy, but it just needs to be able to say, hey, it looks like you're trying to do this because of this thing. And if you could point back to a comment in a meeting, that would be truly amazing, because then it could say, because there's a little bit of, for good reason with all of this, always kind of is it making this answer up, or does it actually know it? And I think even if it's referencing a source, I think you'd still kind of want to look at the source, maybe, because it maybe made up the source itself.
Yeah, it would definitely still hallucinate things.
Yeah.
But if we could reduce that to get to that 80% threshold, I'd be so happy with that. I also kind of have a dream utopia where we have, and this is way out there, if we have a outward-facing portal that also knows about all the acceptance criteria, documentation, artifacts, that a client can log into and talk to. So the client could go to that first and say, hey, am I getting that view with the project list? And the agent could say, well, that's not in the acceptance criteria. Here's how it could fit, couldn't fit. Here's why earlier you said this. And then if we get to a point where that can then help them communicate with us better about, oh, I want this thing. I know it's not in that. Let's talk about, I know that we said no before. We're changing our mind. Like that thing to make communication across the board much easier.
That would be pretty awesome.
I agree. Because this process has been extremely successful, right?
Yeah.
But we've already had a client come back and say, hey, I want this thing that's not in the acceptance criteria. And now we have to have that conversation of, well, you didn't want it before, you want it now. Is this an addition? Is this a change order at scope? Like how do we handle that outside of this process I've developed?
Yeah, because that's not, the process is about getting to the requirements at that moment of time.
Yeah, and
the one thing
everyone agreeing on it that that's what we're building. So as soon as they come back and say, yeah, of course they are.
They are.
And they should have the ability to change.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But how do we handle that change is the real question.
Yeah.
Like, do I need to go back into my pipeline and say, I'm describing this new pipeline process of adjusting and changing? Do I just get on a phone call and record it, fill out another small input template, and then feed that into the pipeline? And now I can say, oh, it changed. The requirements changed. I know when it changed. I know that came after the original thing, so I know there's no conflict. That was the same guy on the phones before. Yeah. Like, I know all those things.
Yeah, it needs that date. And that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's, if we look at all the classic rework metrics, its requirements are the things. So you're not locking those down. And just a little side note, because of this, I actually we did an SOW or not really an SOW, but kind of a lightweight proposal for a customer. I took the requirements and ran them through an agent to get acceptance criteria from that. Now it did, well, obviously wasn't as formal, or it was also a much smaller project as well.
Sure.
So it didn't require as much, but at the same time, it was very interesting. It almost gave me all of them out of the box good. There was probably 2 or 3 I had to throw away, and there was probably 2 or 3 that just it didn't put in there that I would have wanted. So it actually got me most of the way.
In the degree of how many though?
What?
Of how many?
I guess I don't know how many total acceptance criteria. There's only probably 10 stories in this backlog. It wasn't a very large backlog, but with probably 3 acceptance criteria per.
Okay.
So it got quite a ways. It did have, as I mentioned, some missing ones.
Sure.
But I would point out the fact that it was missing was a little bit maybe indicative of bad story.
Sure.
It didn't hallucinate in that situation. There were a couple where I was like, why is it adding this? That I just threw away. But in general, I didn't have to change many. I'd say the ones that were written were good. There was just a few more needed.
Yeah, but it got you 80%.
It got me. It was well past 80%.
Total win.
And it was a minute of time.
Yeah.
Now reading it took longer than a minute, obviously, to read them.
Always got to have the human review.
So that actually was kind of maybe a little slow, but it was still way faster than me writing it.
Yeah.
So.
What do you think the likelihood of having a process where you have a different agent do the review than the agent that generated it, and the reviewing agent has different rule sets and expectations and things?
Yes.
Like it can also refer to the inputs to be like, hey, you missed this one.
That would be cool.
Or do you think it's just going to be like, no, I got it?
I think you could give it, because you can give, if you try, you can with some pre-prompting and whatnot, give things kind of a little bit of a bent, right? If you gave an agent like a standard. And I think they often behave a lot like a standard developer. They're shooting to make it work. And then, oh, it works. I'm done. But if you gave one and say, no, I want you to think of this more like a tester or some sort of business analyst that will be held accountable for anything being missed. You can kind of give it something and be like, oh, I don't want to be held accountable for this.
Yeah, a little more critical this time.
You can kind of like seed it with a different behavior, and I think it would behave. And just having that, even if it doesn't catch all of them, once if it just doing that, which would also be very, very cheap and easy, get you to 90%.
Yeah, that first pass to get another 10 before the full human pass.
I mean, that's a huge win.
Yeah.
So no, I think this idea from a overall time perspective is a big win on the upfront, but also I think it gives us better assets to minimize that rework later on the development, which is even more important.
Yeah.
The chance for win there, I think, is even bigger.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to the point of seeing the handoff to like QA.
Yeah.
Like, how often do we really hand over good gherkin to QA?
I think
basically never.
Yeah, I think we may get some. Yeah, but that would be a huge win, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we all worked against that same thing.
Yeah.
UI UX was working against the same thing.
Yep.
The client had it in their hands the whole time. And every time we want to communicate about something, we can say, hey, point 2, point 3, point 1.
Yeah.
Where we thought it was going to do that, it's not doing that. Either go fix it, or we need to have a conversation around why it can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much easier to communicate when those are laid out.
And I still think this is going to have a big, you've already called it out, advantage on that conversation with the customer.
Absolutely.
Is this in or is it not in, or do we need to work on?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a big, because I think sometimes it's vague.
It's extremely big. A lot.
We often, when designing anything, you're often talking the future versions, the current version, maybe potential versions, and I think it gets kind of murky which version is something in.
Yeah, actually a lot of the conversation I would do to generate that first pass was helping it identify what is V later and what's now.
Yeah, that's actually...
There's a lot of stuff where it's like, hey, somebody talked about this view, and you're like, not important right now. And it would just, okay, it's in the list of not important, I don't have to bring it up again. It's not going to show up anywhere else.
Yeah, but just knowing that is a big...
Yeah, because you can put that list in front of the client too.
Yeah,
and they can look at it and go, "Yes, I'm confirming. I don't want any of that in MVP."
And if they don't want an MVP, then at least we find it early.
Yeah,
so it's
absolutely.
Especially on anything with a timeline, that's really, really important.
Yeah. I will be curious what this experience is like once I do this process with a client who is less willing to get into the weeds with me and is less technical. This client is very technical. They like being very hands-on. They like having those hard conversations.
And they can understand the gherkin.
Yeah, they like the transparency. I'm curious what it's going to be like the first time we get somebody who's very like customer experience focused, or someone who is not technical and doesn't understand the nuance of a modal versus a drawer when they're spelled out. Like what that's going to be like.
Oh, that's a good example there,
Yeah.
right? Because people in the tech world would get that difference in those terms probably.
Yeah.
But like a non-technical person,
They're going to go, what, are these pop-ups? What do you mean?
Yeah. they'll throw a new term in.
Yeah.
What? No, we can't have.
But now that might be helpful for that client-facing thing.
Yeah.
Because they could use that common language of, is this a pop-up? And it could say, no, it's not. You know, a modal does this, a drawer does that.
Yeah.
Here's links and examples to both.
Yeah, and links and examples.
Let me know if you want more.
Yeah.
And then they don't have to ask those clarifying questions in stand-ups when they're like, wait. That's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. All of that's huge wins for us.
I agree.
And I'm really excited. I know in one of our next episodes we're going to have this Jack person on.
I heard about that.
And he's going to come on and talk us through this from the development
And
perspective.
he's making us the pizza, I heard.
Oh, I didn't know that. But that's
Yeah.
a wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
With like caviar and stuff on it too, is what I heard.
That's a really salty pizza.
He says, well, I mean, he's a New York Yankees fan, so he's kind of weird in the first place.
Oh, yeah, Yankees.
That's what I hear. We never did a cut for more pie.
We never did cut for more pie. More pie?
I don't even know how far we are.
I started off with 2.
I'm going to have one more. More pie? Jack?
Thank you, though.
Even though you're wearing a Yankees hat.
Yeah, I was.
I've been hearing from Bob all morning.
Have you really?
Jack in the
In his Red Sox shirt.
I didn't know it bothered Bob. I'm now a Yankees fan.
Well, in that case, if you're, that means I got to be a Boston fan. Because if you're, then
Why do you have to be a
chain of hatred.
chain of hatred? I figured we were just all going to become Yankees fans out of nowhere. I don't
Chain
even.
all the way down.
Yeah.
That'd actually be really funny if we didn't tell Bob someday and he showed up and everyone's wearing Yankee gear.
We should find out what his.
Shooting him today.
Let's
When's
get
his birthday?
Yeah, his birthday. Everybody gets a Yankees hat.
That would be hilarious. You would lose it.
Yeah.
Cool. How long have we been going?
We've been going 20 minutes or so.
About 27.
27. So I think we're pretty good.
Okay. Do an outro?
Do an outro, but then I want to record. Is there a way where you can get you to do a 60-second spot?
Oh yeah, we're gonna do a short.
Just I wanted to have a short of you describing this, so I can post that too about the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that this needs to be you just kind of going off on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we do that.
Okay. Do we need an outro first?
Yeah, you gotta do it this time.
Oh, I don't like this option. This has been another fun episode of This Week in ZA. On this episode, we didn't have a guest, but we did bring in some AI help for our requirements and acceptance criteria, so that AI agent was kind of maybe living in the background.
Why don't we do
helping
an
us.
episode where we just talk to like Gemini Live the whole time or something? That could be fun.
In a future episode, the guest will be Gemini or one. Actually, you know, we should do each one of them as a guest. Each one is a guest, and we'll put up a different, like we'll draw a different face. We'll let them draw their own face, so we can show that on the screen sitting here, and then we'll type, and we'll have someone being the voice of that agent.
AI stealing jobs again.
Yeah,
This
is a
we're
non-
not gonna feed 'em pizza.
this is a non-paid job, so let's be clear.
They get pizza.
That's true. It is a little paid, but we will. I love this idea. But smash that like button. Gives you a tiny bit of dopamine. Makes you feel a little better about yourself.
Yeah, stay subscribed so the button lights up.
Oh yeah, subscribe so the button lights up. That makes you just feel a lot better. Like if you're having a bad day, you better subscribe right now.
Yeah.
That's like step one.
And if they subscribe and they want notifications, they should
I don't know.
ring the bell.
Ring the bell. I didn't know that. But anyhow, watch these.
Leave a comment below.
I don't look at those, so you can leave a comment, but I won't look.
If you have opinions on acceptance criteria, leave them below in the comments.
Yeah, there we go.
I watch a lot of YouTube.
Yeah. All right. That's all we got for today.
Yeah, tune in next week for another guest, more AI chats,
And
continuing
then-
season 3.
We have to start doing these episodes where we talk to the AI. We might have to someone be the AI voice. We'll have them like hiding here, yelling the voice of what it says behind.
Yeah, just don't look behind the curtain.
Don't look behind the curtain.
Yep. Big thanks for watching. Big thanks for us for recording this again, making us look and sound as good as we can. See you next week.
See you next week.